Hey everybody, Giles Canner here from N1 Outdoors, hunting, fishing, and the outdoors all in one. Today we're going to talk bow hunting, and we're going to talk specifically about arrow shaft cutting. Now we already have a video on our channel about arrow building 101. You can check that out. It walks you through the whole process from beginning to end of the arrow build, and is very helpful for you who are looking to do this for yourselves for the first time. But we're going to focus in this video briefly on just simply cutting the arrow shafts, because if you want to get to this, you have to start with these. And that means cutting them to the right length and doing it in a way that will give you the best possible arrow flight. So let's go down in the basement and cut some arrow shafts. All right, so you will be needing an arrow saw. You may already have one, or you may be considering getting an arrow saw. This particular one is called the modular arrow saw. We'll leave the link to that in the comments below, but we have no affiliation with this company. It just happens to be one that we have. It's fairly affordable and it does the job pretty well. So you may want to get yourself an arrow saw if you're considering it. This is certainly a good option, but there are others out there as well. Now, if you already have arrows that you're shooting and you know they're the right length, the process of measuring your arrow shaft for cutting is not going to be difficult. You can simply line up the end of that shaft with the shaft. It's hard to see there, but they are even. With the end of that shaft, and just come down here and mark just below the insert, and that's where you'll cut that shaft. Now, if you don't have arrows that you can go by to know how long to cut these arrows, then you need to be sure of a couple things. One, you need to be sure that when the arrow is nocked on the string and that string is in the throat of the nock, the distance from there to the end of that shaft needs to be long enough to where it's going to clear that rest. And not only does it need to clear the rest on your bow, if you're shooting fixed blade broadheads, it is really important that the end of that arrow come past your finger. So you want your finger to be down here, and you want the tip of that arrow or that broadhead to be past your finger at full draw, because we want you to keep all your digits. We do not want fingers lost in this process. Bow hunting is awesome, but it's not worth losing a finger over. So be sure you do a good job of measuring and be thorough, because you can only cut it one time. If you cut it the wrong length, cut it too short, you've wasted an arrow shaft and potentially a finger. We don't want that. So I've got my arrow here lined up with an existing arrow that I know is the correct length. So I'm just going to come down here and make a little mark with a Sharpie. And that's where I'm going to cut this arrow shaft. Okay, I've got this arrow shaft that I've marked with a Sharpie. I've got it teed up here on the arrow saw. You can see it right here. This is a sliding rest, and it allows you to move this back and forth to the correct length of where you need that arrow shaft cut. And so I've got it set to the proper length, and in just a minute I'm going to cut this on and I'm going to cut this arrow shaft. Now when we cut this arrow shaft in just a minute, we're going to slide it in here and we're going to rotate this shaft like this so that it cuts evenly all the way around the shaft. Won't take but a second. Here we go. Okay, we've got our arrow shaft here where we've cut the appropriate length off of the end, and now we're going to actually sand the end of this arrow shaft. Now we go into more detail about this in our arrow building 101 video, but we're going to sand the end of this shaft with this little tool right here. This is from Carbon Express, and you can see it's got a rough rounded edge. This will insert into the end of the arrow shaft, and then we'll turn it. And we'll do that a couple times to be sure that we get the arrow flush, because we want the nock to be flush with the arrow shaft. And we also want our insert, where the broadhead or the field point is going to go, to be flush with the arrow shaft, so that we can get the best possible arrow flight off the string as we can. So this is an important step that you don't want to skip. So be sure that you sand the ends, both ends of your arrow shaft. Okay, we've sanded both ends of this arrow shaft, and now it is ready for the insert and also the nock. And so be sure to check out more about how you do that in our Arrow Building 101 video on our channel. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, where the moments happen, we'll meet you there. We'll see you next time.